Let me take you someplace the city forgot. Just a few miles west of Austin, Texas, where the concrete ends and the dirt takes over, where fence posts lean like tired soldiers and every sunrise tastes like coffee and mesquite smoke. Names: Jesse Ray. I wasn't born rich, wasn't born lucky, but I was born free, son of a welder and a nurse. I served my time, 27 years in the Austin Fire Department. Car wrecks, chemical spills, brush fires big enough to melt steel. And when I finally hung up my helmet, I didn't want a golf course or a beach house. I wanted space. Quiet. Something real. So I bought it. A 40-acre spread just past the Blanco River Basin. Land older than Texas itself. I raised horses there. Let my old cattle dog, Ranger, chase doves. Planted wildflowers for nobody but the bees. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. And for a few years, it stayed that way until the HOA came knocking. They didn't ask. They announced. At first, it was whispers. A new development, they said. Luxury homes, gated community. Not too far. Then I saw the trucks, bulldozers, survey crews laying neon flags like breadcrumbs across the hills. I watched them build houses so fast the paint was dry before the roof shingles were nailed in. They called it Pinebrook Meadows, which was rich, considering the meadows weren't theirs to begin with. Then came the first letter, printed real nice on thick cardstock. Return address stamped with an acorn, like that made M official. It wasn't a request. It was a directive. Please ensure your structures align with the neighborhood aesthetic. Barn colors must be HOA approved. Then another, livestock. Must not be visible from community roads. Then the kicker, all community-adjacent properties must maintain HOA-compliant fencing within visual zones. Community-adjacent? I crumpled that letter, tossed it into the fire barrel, and watched it turn to smoke. The land was never for sale, but they acted like they owned it. Let me be clear. I never signed an HOA contract. My land wasn't platted with theirs. I didn't build within their subdivision. I didn't even have a shared access road. But that didn't stop them. They held meetings where I wasn't invited, took votes on my behalf, tried to rezone areas they didn't own. And when I called the county to ask what was going on, I got the same answer 3 times in a row. Technically, they haven't violated anything. Yet. They hadn't violated anything, but they were planning to. And when bureaucrats say, technically, you better check your 6. This is a notice, not a request. A month passed. Then one morning, I heard gravel pop under tires, white Escalade. Windows tinted darker than a poker cheat's sunglasses. Out steps a man. Khakis. Collar popped, clipboard in hand like it was a sword. Name tag said, Donald Snipe, President. Pinebrook Meadows, HOA. Behind him stood a real estate lawyer in heels so sharp they could aerate my field. Beatrice Langford. I'd later come to know that name better than I ever wanted. Donald pointed at my barn, like he was judging art. This structure here is casting shade across HOA green space. That could constitute a visual nuisance. I took a long breath. Stepped forward. Looked him square in his bug-eyed sunglasses. Son, the only nuisance I see is a man with soft hands talking tough on someone else's land. He didn't like that. Didn't say a word. Just turned, scribbled something on his clipboard, and walked back to his car. The loophole they'd dug weeks past. Then came the flags again, survey crews creeping along the backside of my property. One guy got bold, walked halfway across my fence line before I stepped out with a thermos in one hand and a .22 slung across my shoulder. He backed off. But I knew the dance was starting. Turns out, Pinebrook Meadows had bought a tiny forgotten 5-foot strip of land that intersected the only road to my front gate. A clerical error from a land auction 10 years ago. I never even noticed it, but they did, and they used that sliver like a dagger. The day they locked me out 2 days. That's all I was gone. Went down to Houston to help Mama recover from back surgery. When I got back, I couldn't get in. A brand new 9-foot-tall steel fence wrapped completely around my property. Fresh bolts. Laser-cut posts. Bright white sign. Private property. Pinebrook Meadows HOA access restricted. Trespassers will be prosecuted. And the only gate? Locked shut, not just any lock. Commercial grade, triple latch, industrial padlock, and it was mounted right on the 5-foot strip I didn't own. They didn't need to fence me. They just fenced around me. And legally? I couldn't step on that 5-foot strip to reach my own land without risking a trespassing charge. The first call I made, I wasn't angry yet. I was calculating, so I called an old friend. Darnell McCoy, ex-firefighter, now a real estate agent, who knew more about Hill Country parcel records than the county clerk. Darnell, I said, find out who owns the land behind that gate. If there's a strip connecting to the county road, I want it. 3 days later, he called back laughing. Jesse, you're not going to believe this. The guy who sold that gate strip to the HOA? He's got another one, same size, same length. Runs right behind the fence. And he's looking to unload it. I wired the money that afternoon, just like that. I owned the land behind their gate. But that wasn't the only surprise, in a little metal utility shed. Sitting on that strip, was a backup. Key to the HOA's gate, the day I twirled the key Saturday. Afternoon, HOA family picnic. Bounce houses, iced lemonade, catered brisket from some place that spelled barbecue wrong on purpose. I drove up slow in my 91. Dodge, window down. Ranger barking soft behind the seat. Pulled up right behind their shiny gate, stepped out. Pulled a hand-painted sign from my bed. Private land nitrogen monoxide, trespassing. Owner access ONLY, and I hammered it into the ground. Right in view of their HOA. The banner. Out comes Donald Snipe, red-faced. Visor flipped backward. He points at me like he's ordering a steak. You can't do that. I didn't say a word, just held up the key, twirled it once, slid it into the lock. Click. Gate. Opened. Ranger ran through it like nothing happened. I stepped in behind him. Donald stood there frozen, surrounded by suburbanites holding lemonade and moral superiority. This land doesn't belong to you. He yelled. You're right, I said. It belongs to me. And now I got the key. But that was just the opening round. You might think that was the win. The end of the story. It wasn't. Because after that public humiliation, the HOA changed. Tactics. They went underground. Fake complaints. County code violations. A surprise IRS audit. Even a complaint filed to animal control about my horses being aggressive. They didn't want a standoff anymore. They wanted a siege, the legal brick wall. 2 weeks after I reopened my gate, I got a knock on the door, certified mail inside. A 58-page cease and desist package, HOA letterhead. Legal jargon thicker than molasses in December. They were suing me for unauthorized structural alterations. On my own land. It wasn't just about access anymore. They wanted to forcefully annex my property into their HOA district, citing obscure community integrity clauses and something they called ambient conformity doctrine. Sounded like a cult, read like a threat. And then I got hit with a property inspection report. Condemned fencing, improper livestock shelter spacing, unauthorized outbuildings, penalties adding up to $27,800. All of it fake, all of it designed to drain me. I was retired, had savings. But not that kind of savings. They weren't trying to win in court. They were trying to starve me into submission. But they didn't know one thing. This old dog? I'd been in fires that burned hotter than this. My lawyer had spurs. I called Travis. My cousin, he's a land use attorney in San Antonio. One of the few lawyers I trust, because he spent more time in dusty courthouses, defending ranchers than sipping espresso in glass towers. He drove down in boots and a bolo tie. Took one look at the paperwork and snorted. "They're playing dirty," he said. "But you know what? HOA boards hate sunlight." He filed a countersuit: property harassment, illegal encroachment, fraudulent code enforcement. The gloves were off. The snake in the grass that night. Someone cut my fence, not in one place. In 6, my Maras wandered halfway to the neighbor's orchard before I got them back. Next morning, I found footprints. Smooth soles, not boots, not ranchers. Encroaches shoes. I installed trail cams. 2 days later, I caught someone on footage, Beatrice Langford, the lawyer from that first visit, walking the edge of my property in heels and holding a pair of bolt cutters. She didn't even flinch when the red LED lit up. She wanted to be seen. It was a message. But I had a message of my own. Building the arena the next day, I called every friend I had. 2 old rodeo hands from Llano, a construction foreman I helped years ago when his boy had cancer. A crew of high school FFS students looking for a summer project. I gave them a mission. We were going to build something they couldn't ignore. Not a barn. Not a house. An arena. And we called it Freedom Arena. Big enough for a rodeo. Open air, dust-packed, a raised announcer's platform, a proper grandstand made of reclaimed wood, and a flagpole that could be seen from Pinebrook Meadows' backyards. We didn't hide it. We invited everyone. Every hammer swing echoed through that valley. Every drill bit screamed across the fence line. The HOA filed for a visual pollution injunction. The judge threw it out. I had permits. I had title. I had the law. And I had a crew working 16-hour days fueled by barbecue and freedom. Opening night came quicker than we planned. Word had spread. Facebook groups, local radio, even a short segment on Hill Country News. We lit the torches. Cranked the speakers. The first Freedom Rodeo drew over 500 people. Kids on horseback. Veterans in wheelchairs. Mothers pushing strollers. Through Texas dust. And every seat in the HOA side of the fence filled. They weren't there to support me. They were watching, hoping I'd screw up. But I didn't, because the permits were tight. The noise ordinance followed. Trash picked up. Fire extinguishers in place. It wasn't a protest. It was a celebration. They tried to strip me of rights. So I made a place where everyone could feel free. The raid that backfired 1 month in. We were prepping for the second Freedom Rodeo. Expecting even more folks, local bands, tractor parade. Veteran appreciation tribute. Then came the cops. 5 squad cars. No sirens. Just flashing lights and stern faces. They said they had a noise complaint and were ordered to shut us down, preemptively. They were led by a man I hadn't seen before. HOA security coordinator, now acting as some kind of community liaison. Sighed. They had authority from a residential impact ordinance passed at a recent HOA vote. But standing beside me, Sheriff Dwyer. Tall, quiet, dusty badge. He tipped his hat. "They asked me to escort you off your own land." "Jesse," he said. I told them I'd rather escort them off yours. Turns out, Sheriff Dwyer's uncle used to rope cattle with my dad. Turns out, respect still means something in these parts. The deputies turned around, and the HOA? They looked smaller than ever. The viral moment that night, someone filmed me, standing on the announcer platform, holding a Bible in one hand and the HOA lawsuit in the other. I said 5 words. This ain't just about fences. It went viral. Clipped, shared, auto-captioned and stitched into 1,000 Freedom montages. The story hit national attention. News anchors called. Podcasts wanted interviews. People who'd never ridden a horse started asking questions about HOAs. And suddenly, I wasn't just Jesse Ray. I was that rancher who stood his ground. The county steps in 2 months in. The county zoning board did a full audit of Pinebrook Meadows. Turns out, their bylaws violated over 12 state-level housing statutes, illegal annexation attempts, failure to register land deeds properly, falsifying easement maps. And when the auditors dug deeper, they found payments from homeowners redirected into a private legal contingency fund, used to pay for the lawsuits against me. Over 70 homeowners sued the board. Donald Snipe resigned. Beatrice Langford was disbarred. And the HOA dissolved. The return to Quiet Freedom Arena still stands. Busier than ever, but weekdays? They're quiet again. I ride the fence line with Ranger. Rebuilt every inch of it myself, not because I had to, but because I could. Every post is a reminder that freedom isn't just an idea, it's a fight, a decision, a line you draw in the dirt and dare someone to cross. The letter that changed everything. 6 months later, I got another letter, handwritten, no legalese. No threats. It was from Beatrice. She said she'd left law, moved to New Mexico. Now, helps tribal nations defend their land from developers. Said I opened her eyes. You taught me, she wrote, that paper power crumbles in the face of lived truth. I never wrote back. Some chapters don't need a sequel. The movement grows today. There's a network called Landline Defenders, started by a retired teacher from Idaho, who saw my video and realized her HOA was illegally taxing well access. There's a billboard outside Amarillo. Don't get fenced in. Know your rights. People talk. They share. And in the cracks of concrete subdivisions and cul-de-sacs, a fire's been lit. One started on 40 acres west of Austin. Epilogue. This story ain't just mine. If you're watching this, maybe you felt it too. That pressure, that quiet theft of freedom. One form, one fee, 1 inch of land at a time. But this story, it ain't just mine. It's yours too. Because you don't need a ranch to stand your ground. You don't need a horse or a hammer or a cowboy hat. You just need one word. No. Say it loud. Say it smart. Say it with roots under your boots and truth in your hands. Because when they try to fence you out, don't just break the lock. Own the damn land behind the gate.